Welcome back, boys and girls, to the DreamHack Hearthstone Grand Prix. We are all done with the Swish portion of proceedings, which is good news for several reasons. First, because we're getting to the meat of this tournament and everything is becoming much, much more exciting. But secondly, it means we can cut down on the downtime between games significantly, which I'm sure you're all very grateful for. And I'm sure you're also grateful for this fantastic pair of casters that I have joining me, Raven and Firebat. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited for the top 16 now. You know, we've done the long part, the long slog through Swiss, and we do have the top 16 to see coming up. So it's going to be exciting, as these are the just win or go home matches, every single one.
Yeah, really cool to finally see, and just to see who made it is pretty exciting. Look at the list of names here. Who are you surprised about making it through?
Yeah, I mean, so Boston was a bit of a surprise for me, mainly because I just didn't know much about him in the first place. He's a bit of a newcomer, but
because he was the 9-0, right? Like, he
yeah.
went all the way through. So.
Yeah, and so that was a really big surprise there. But looking across the board, it's like we've got a lot of good players and a lot of well-established players. I'm already just looking at Orange versus Hoy. It's a very interesting matchup that's going to go on a bit later on.
Yep, so we are going to have 6 of these top 16 games out of the 8 on stream. The way we've chosen to do it, we sat and pored over it for ages as to who we were going to eliminate. Or not eliminate, but, push to the side and not broadcast. But in the end, we decided the only fair way to do it is we were going to take the games of the top 6 players who qualified through the Swiss. So those are the games we're going to feature. And then the games featuring the 7th and 8th qualified players are going to be the ones that are played off stream. So as you can see, the bracket in front of you, big names all over the place. JJ, Orange, Hoy, RDU, Ball Control, of course, just making a name for himself. And the game we're about to feature has two very strong sort of underdog players. Standardachi is a player who's been on my radar for a long time, and Tessin is a player that I think you've had some experience with in previous events that you've cast, Raven.
Yeah, so Tessin was at the last PGL, and he actually performed really well. Didn't make it all the way, but overall played quite well, and he joined us for some casting as well, so that's always fun. But I think he's just one of these players who plugs away at the game a lot. He does play a hell of a lot. And he's just waiting for that moment to really make his push and have the big breakout performance. And this is that moment if he can make it.
Yeah, and Standardachi Firebat, primarily known as a deck builder more than anything. He's kind of the cogs between other people's success. He's been building the decks that other people have been out there killing it with, but still a very accomplished player in his own right.
Yeah, definitely heard lots about Standardachi. He's been accredited for Tempo Warrior, Tempo Mage, lots of tempo things. And then every time I see him play, he's always playing some crazy slow control decks. And so he's got a very wide range in the decks that he builds, the decks that he pilots, and he always plays kind of off the beaten path things. Not necessarily too weird, but just off the conventional route a little bit of the ways. And I think that's a great style for deck building, just to be mainly consistent, because the standard decks are standard for a reason.
Yeah.
They're pretty good, but then having your own little twist in them is something that Standardachi does a lot of the times, and it works out really well for him. He's been placing really well, so I've kind of seen and known him a little bit, whereas Tessin on the otherwise, you've talked about how he placed really well. That wasn't a tournament I unfortunately was able to get too involved in, so I didn't actually watch that one. So I don't know anything about Tessin, and I'm happy and excited to see him play here, because seeing these unknown players to me, or players that I don't know much about, and just learning about them is one of the most fun things about Hearthstone, getting to know new players, new people, and seeing if they are going to make that splash into the scene, and it'll be amazing to see him perform today.
Yep. The other thing of note here is that we're now playing a single elimination bracket. So after the long grind of Swiss, it's suddenly very, very really go big or go home time for these players. They don't have second chances anymore. There's no long Swiss format in front of them. This is down to a good old-fashioned single elimination bracket. So these players are going to have to win straight games from here on out if they're going to take home the DreamHack Championship. But again, I think it needs to be stressed once again that this top 16 already, everyone in here has already made a colossal achievement to get through this 200-man plus Swiss bracket as one of the best 16 players.
Yeah, and I think they're just going to be focused on this first round altogether, because one of the worst feelings is to get one of those just precious spots in the Swiss. It's so difficult to get after a long time of playing and then go out in the first single limb round.
Yeah,
they definitely at least want to go to top 8 and just go on to tomorrow.
Sure, yeah, making it to day 3 is always the best feeling. Even though you can't drink on day 2 then, because you have to be ready for day 3, it's still you just feel so accomplished that you're grinding it out and you're truly battling every single day of the tournament. And That's what these players hope to accomplish. But unfortunately, one of them can't make it to day 3.
Yeah, I mean, can't drink might be a little bit of a strong statement. If you really want to regret all your life decisions the next day, you could. There's nothing stopping you. Yeah,
probably
maybe
shouldn't
seems more accurate, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to this top 16. I think there's a great mix of deck lineups as well. We've seen a lot of these players featured individually because just by nature they were the players that were being successful in the Swiss, so they got featured on stream. And there's Tempo Mage in this top 16 that wasn't common throughout the whole thing. We've got some Yogs, we've got some Anyfin Paladin, I believe, as well as the standard stuff that you've come to expect for the Zoos, the Shamans, the Tempo Warriors, etc.
Yeah, and also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the players in the top 16 know the deck list.
Yes, they have been
so they have
now.
access to the deck lists of all the other players and obviously their opponent of this round. So they'll be fully aware of every card in their opponent's deck. I don't think they have the deck list in front of them when they play, but the time we took between Swiss finishing and the start of top 16 was time to give the players to study the deck lists.
Right, but it's not long. I mean,
no, it's not long.
You look at, say, the HCT events that have been going on recently. The deck lists are revealed days before the actual event happens, so you have time to sit back, strategize, work out what you're doing, commit all these cards to memory. Here, it was a matter of 30 minutes or so that they had to deal with it all, as well as getting prepared for the tournament game. So people that can internalize things very quickly, can adapt strategies on the fly, and really process information very quickly are going to have an advantage in this situation. But Firebat, how else do you think revealed deck lists affects the dynamic of the way you play a game against your opponent?
How does it affect the way you play the game?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to play around too many tech cards if they don't have any.
Right.
Sometimes it makes you, if you see tech cards in the deck list and you're like, my opponent has Harrison Jones, and then you just really aggressively play around Harrison Jones, it can kind of cloud your judgment a little bit, especially when you're under such high pressure, because you still have to realize that even if it's in their deck, there's only a % chance that it's in their hand or what have you. And a lot of players can play on that sort of fear that people have in the revealed deck list format and maybe just pick up a card and put it down a lot.
Right.
Just pretend they're itching at the tech card that's going to win them the whole series the whole time. And then your opponent starts getting nervous about it. And they're like, I know that's in his deck. I know it's in his deck. And then overplay around it and then end up costing them the game at some points.
It's one of the things we saw from George C. in prelims, wasn't he? He actually, because it was a full revealed deck list format, he put Leroy in every single one of his decks.
And then people played around it a lot?
Yeah, exactly. It's just I have Leroy, so you have to be even more careful because, I could just end the game. But it was in Tempo where you just put Leroy in, just put it in every single deck and just let his opponents worry about him more and then just not play as efficiently as they would without that knowledge.
Yeah, I guess. But that's a strategy also that relies on your opponents then making mistakes and not being calm and collected and realizing, hey, there's only this much chance he has it. I don't need to necessarily play around it. And then at that point, it becomes a liability for you if your opponents are really calm and collected about just the way their game plan works out, because then you're just shooting yourself in the foot with your deck list a little bit, and they're not overreacting to it. But it is definitely something that's kind of weird with revealed deck lists, how that mechanic works.
Yeah, I mean, that plays into George C's mentality perfectly because he does assume that every other Hearthstone player is terrible and is going to make mistakes. So enough about him. Let's talk about the two players that we have. Ainox's Stanadachi against Tessin from Tricked, and it's going to be Warrior versus Shaman to open us up. Raven and Firebat will be your casters for this series. Enjoy, guys.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting matchup here. There's a pretty good start here for Tessin with, normally Trog into Totem Golem is a pretty good plan when you're playing Shaman.
Yeah, not the worst plan for sure. And we see Stanudachi not having the early game Fiery War Axe to be able to counter this. So that means that Tonal Trog is going to start growing, start getting out of control. He needs to find ways to react with it. He has the Disciple of Cthulhu, which can start setting up a potentially the second Disciple of Cthulhu to take down the Totem Golem, and also sets up the Ravening Ghoul if the 2/3 trades into it. So that's kind of the line he's going for, just trying to clean it up in the best way he can. Overall, the matchup, though, what's your opinion on it?
This is a matchup I've actually not played too much because Cthulhu Warrior is something that's sort of on and off on ladder. Some days everyone's playing it, some days no one are. But yeah, I think the Shaman can actually do pretty well here. Things have to go quite wrong for the Shaman to not finish this game out, but there are definitely cards in the Warrior deck that can cause some huge problems. Shield Bearer, for example. Suddenly, if they can hold off just long enough and then suddenly 10 extra health. And even if it goes late enough, they can combo that with Bran for suddenly plus 20 and a 6/6. Yeah, it's pretty scary.
If the Shaman is going to win the game, they do need to close it out really quickly or get in situations where their opponent has no answer to their 4-mana 7/7. But as with any matchup with Shaman, if you play 4-mana 7/7 and they don't kill it, you're probably favored to win.
Yeah.
Like, it's so powerful, so much damage in your deck.
There's even a Doomhammer now.
Wow. And yeah, the follow-up to the 7-7, what's better than Doom hammering people in the face after clocking them for 7, you know?
Yeah, and I really like this as well. Just run the 1-1 in. It's meaningless when you've got the Flame Wreath on the board. Use the Lightning Bolt to play the 4-2, because you don't want to prop things like Execute or make a smaller shield slam possible, and then just continue to push damage. Look at this, like, Sanadachi's at 15.
Yeah, he
already.
can't kill the 7-7 this turn with the shield block, armor shield slam. He can't do it. But next turn, he's going to have the mana to be able to do it. He's going to be on 6 mana. And then he can finally take care of the 7-7. But it's about to deal another 7 damage to him, totaling up to 14 damage. And the Doomhammer's starting to come crashing in. But Tessin is drawing a few blanks here. He's stuck with just double Flame Tongue Totem in his hand. So once this 7-7 goes down, his board presence is pretty limited. But he's
probably itching for Argent Horse Rider or something, just
something
to be able to
with
get
charge
instant
for
damage.
Sure, yeah, yeah. Oh, man. Warrior doesn't have any Cthulhu activators, really. No, he has both of them. Yeah, he's both.
Yeah, the Cthulhu's activated, at 10. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he played the 2 Disciples and the Chosen.
Yeah, this is usually, in my experience, how the matchup really goes. Is the Shaman gets really close, and then the Warrior just gains 10 life.
It's how the matchup goes in actually, like, Cthulhu Warrior versus most decks. Like, because their early minions aren't great. You know, they're not as engineered to deal with as many threats early on. It's mainly just War Axe and Cthulhu's Disciple of Cthulhu, can actually do some work, but it is only 2 damage. But then once you get to turn 7 and things like Ancient Shield Bearer, Twin Emperors come out, you're like, oh, okay, I can never actually get to him to finish the game.
Yeah, one of the things that affects Cthulhu Warriors' like win rate the highest is if they have a 7-drop on 7 that's active. If they have any of those 7-drops on 7 that's active, their win rate goes up by so much. So much so, in fact, that a lot of players even started including the 2-drop Cthulhu buffer.
Yeah, just
in the
to
deck.
like almost guarantee.
Just to increase the chance of you having one of your 7-drops be active on 7, just because it affects the win rate so much to actually have that.
It goes towards a similar way their Cthulhu Druid works, in that they, of all the Cthulhu decks, probably play some of the most of the buff minions. And it's like by the time you get to those big guys, it's just almost always activated unless there's something gone terribly wrong.
Yeah, and Stanudachi actually goes with a Brawl here over going for the Shield Bearer to get the armor. He just wants to clean off as much damage as he can with Brawl beforehand, make sure his minion sticks around. Just Flame Tongue Totem causing such a disturbing presence on the board, but that maybe preemptive Brawl could get him in a kind of awkward situation here, as Tessin picked up the Feral Spirits, one of the greatest ways to reload the board after a Brawl, and even as a second Flame Tongue Totem he can slam down and be aggressive with. After seeing the reaction from Stanudachi to use the Brawl, I think I would like to see the Flame Tongue Totem come down, because you got to figure they don't really have a way to kill it if they're brawling off basically just a Flame Tongue Totem and an Argent Squire the previous turn. But he is going to hold it back, show a little bit of patience here, plays around Revenge or second Brawl.
There could be the read. I was going to say there could be the read that because he used the Brawl, then he has a second one, because it's like, well, I've got 2. I just may as well Brawl this board and still have another one to back up. But
Makes
you see the Shield Bearer go down there and suddenly 18.
Suddenly 18, but it's suddenly about to be a lot lower as Tessin's got 2, 4, 6 on the board. Argent Horse Rider can charge in for another
Can even
2.
gain the additional damage from the Flame Tongue first attack and then drop the Horse Rider.
Yeah.
How much damage is that actually?
14, 15, 16, 17, 18 with the Doomhammer, so that is lethal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
His health is going to be quite low after this turn.
Yeah,
0.
quite low. Wow, I didn't actually expect it to work out just like that, but Tessin able to sneak a win out here from a position that seemed kind of bad for him towards the end there. He had a really good start, but
everything that went up until that Brawl turn, and then you looked at Stanodeshi's hand, that's how the Warrior wins, right? And that's what we were saying. Like, you start just dropping the plus 10 health, and then you can go into Emperors potentially if he draws them, and then the Shaman just can't get through because you're also still armoring up at this point.
Brawl.
But yeah, the Brawl, I don't know. Do you think it would have turned out much different if he went Shield Bearer then Brawl? Because he could have traded and then Brawled off.
Why not just go Shield Bearer, Shield Bearer?
Well,
you're not
plus 20 over 2 turns and 2 6/6s
and you have the
pretty
6/6s to trade.
Yeah.
The Brawl is a bit interesting to me. I think
the Brawl as well with Doomhammer, how much health? It was like 13 health or something. Like, he could have just died that turn as well because of what was left up, and he could have just had Rockbiter or lava,
he would have needed Rockbiter plus Lava Burst or something. So,
but it was definitely a rough one there for Stanodeshi's. Tessin takes the first game, and it is now going to be a Shaman Mirror.
Yeah, and that's never good when your best counter for Shaman is then just Shaman, because you're saying.
Did you nearly say Shaman?
I almost did. I pulled it back though.
Give me time. Tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll get there tomorrow.
All right. But yeah, so at best you're looking at 50% right here.
Yeah.
That's your win rate in the matchup. I think having coin in this matchup is a little bit advantageous because you can get the first totem golem out, which is super, super important. And we see that in Stanudachi's hand. He has totem golem, but Tessin also has totem golem. But I think one of the best ways to beat a turn 2 totem golem is a turn 1 totem golem.
Yeah.
So I like Stanudachi's hand here, and I think having the coin gives him a slight advantage in the matchup. But still, you never feel good relying on needing to win the mirror. Otherwise, he's queuing Rogue up against Face Shaman.
Yeah, and the Argent Squire and Rockbiter in the opening hand is super important because it gives you a very easy way to deal with your opponent's totem golem as well.
Yeah, not too bad. And Tessin's got a beautiful curve as well. He's got 1 drop into totem golem, totem golem. So what's better than 1 totem golem? 2 totem golems, yeah.
But Stanudachi could do something similar and get 2 because he has Tuskar Totemic that can also summon the totem golem.
Yeah, both players drawing exceptionally well in this match. Yeah, here comes the totem golem from Tessin, and Stanudachi doesn't have great ways to react to it. He's basically just playing an Argent Squire like a true mirror here.
Yep, actually mirrored board.
Yeah, and a lot of times you feel like you kind of want to trade your totem golem into your opponent's totem golem, just kind of bump it in this situation, or maybe the Divine Shield, just so that your totem golem can't get buffed and traded into. This one kind of plays into Abusive Sergeant and Flame Tongue a little bit more now, though, because your opponent can buff up their Argent Squire to finish off your totem golem, and you didn't actually get inflicted.
Yeah, or even Rockbiter just to clear.
Sure, yeah. But Tessin wants to use both of his mana here, try and get the full board clear to try and protect his totem golem, forcing Stanudachi to try and use a 3 damage spell to kill his 1 health minion, but unable to get the full clear on the Argent Squire, so Stanudachi is going to be able to use that Argent Squire to clean off that 3-1 from Tessin.
Today?
Oh, that's
really
a pretty good one.
So the frustrating thing about Mana Tide Totem, especially in a matchup like this, is you kind of have to kill it, but you never want to commit resources to kill it because there's always something more important to do.
Yeah. In this case, it's not too many resources because he does have the Flame Tongue Totem to buff up, and it just fits his curve to be able to
this
play.
worked out really well, but in some situations, you just can't afford to put the resources in, but every single turn your opponent's drawing twice as many cards as you, so it just turns into a disaster one way or the other.
Yeah, and it's still just a real struggle for the board. Neither player has asserted complete board dominance, but I would have to say Tessin's a little bit closer to being ahead on board. But it's really hard to tell at this point who's really going to walk away with this board control. Tessin does have the ability to get like a lot of value out of his totem golem here, being able to pick off a Feral Spirit for essentially free. And you got to remember Stanudachi is overloaded for the following turn. So if Tessin is able to take a pretty big board play this turn, Stanudachi's not going to be able to fight back.
Do you think there's potential for going Trog Lava Burst here? Yeah, you just buff the Trog up and then being able to trade into more minions instead of just playing Tuskar Totemic and just seeing what the totem is. You know, probably not going to make a huge impact that specific turn. Yeah. So allows him to clear off quite a lot of the board, just leaving the Squire up. And the Squire doesn't really do too much on its own. It can kill the 2-1 is the obvious trade, but we can see there's also, you know, Rockbiter in hand if he wants to clear off the Trog as well. So there is answers, but I like that turn.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
He can still play Tuskar Totemic next turn.
And he's able to get better trades with his 2-3 this way and actually pull ahead on the board, but Stanudachi's not out of it yet. Like, this is the most grindy I've seen a Shaman mirror for the board, right? So now he's going to be able to play down the Finley, play down the Tunnel Trog, and use the Rockbiter to clean up a minion. And he's starting to maybe get into a situation where his card advantage can pull ahead, and he's thinking about maybe trying to keep going aggressively for the board, take the Life Tap to help him with that since he already has the Doomhammer.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it looks like there's quite a good amount of damage in the hand as the Doomhammer stacks up over time, the Lava Burst as well. I think it's going to be important to keep hold of the board so you can get the repetitive damage from the minions, because that's what's going to get you ahead and win the game.
Does go for Hunter, though.
Yeah, Stanudachi actually goes for the Hunter.
That's interesting. That's interesting to me.
Because on 30 as well, like,
yeah,
it's a lot of clicks.
The game at this state, neither player has really secured the board at all. It's been so slow for the board that it's interesting to me to go for Hunter. Normally, Life Tap in this matchup, though, the downside is a lot of times you tap yourself to death. Yeah. You just get into a situation where your opponent's deck has enough burst and just is able to kill you.
Oh,
Stanudachi being really afraid of that, and wow, that could just have decided the game here.
Yeah, Tessin actually just took a breath and then sat up a little bit straighter when that Totem Golem came out and was like, yeah, that's my boy, this guy. Like, good job.
Yeah, now Stanudachi's got to commit the Flame Wraith Faceless. He can't develop the Doomhammer, which we would have liked to do. If like a regular Totem came out here, he could just play Doomhammer this turn, take some value trades. But that 7/7 is pretty threatening. But
it can be cleared up with Lava Burst on one of the minions.
Well, do you clear it, though?
Well, yeah, that's true. You could just continue to be like, because you're wider than your opponent here, and there's, you know, 7/7, a lot of stats, but only one minion.
Yeah.
So you can only attack one thing at a time, and it looks like Tessin agrees. Is he just going to go for the Smoke Life with that Lava Burst sitting in hand as well?
I like it a lot. I like it a lot. If you try and go for the value game now, I don't think you're going to win. Your opponent has more cards than you.
Yeah.
Stanudachi did pick up the Doomhammer for a second last turn and maybe signaled it a bit to Tessin, knowing if he knew his opponent has a Doomhammer in hand, this is definitely the right play because you just simply can't outvalue Doomhammer. It's so many cards wrapped up into one card, basically.
Yeah, and this is really good for Tessin because that was just 11 damage that just went into a 0-3. Obviously, you know, the Flame Tongue buffing minion, so it is worth damage, and another minion. That's like 11. That's crazy. And Tessin's still in a good position as the Totem Golem's still alive, and you just see the power of Tuskar Totemic. Something a Totem Golem is just insane.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Even more powerful than Manatide sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of times, honestly.
Yeah.
And Manatide's
it's more like
mana
initially impactful, right?
Yeah.
It's like Manatide's just good every single turn and providing an annoyance for your opponent. Totem Golem can actually just kill your opponent.
Yeah.
So
we can see that happening right now. If there's a spell power totem rolled, this is going to be it.
And the odds on just drawing Burst.
Yeah,
well.
and Burst.
Yep,
and
there
there's
we go.
Burst.
That'll do it.
Oh, man. Aggro Shaman, such a disgusting deck. Such a disgusting deck. And what we can really accredit it to, though, the turns that really were the most impactful for Tessin, you can say, sure, yeah, he got Tuskar Totemic and it was so lucky, but that Lava Burst turn that you pointed out, where you Lava Burst the Feral Spirit to be able to take favorable trades and fight for the board as aggressively as possible, a lot of players would have just played the Tuskar Totemic there. Yeah. It seems like so obvious. Why Lava Burst a 2-3? It's such wasted value. When it's just clearly the correct play. It fights for the board better in a matchup that's all about the board.
And then look what we saw earlier. The turn was Flame Tongue Totem with 2 minions already on board.
Yeah.
And then go face for like huge amount of damage. And that's really what led the way for him to push enough for that lava for the Lava Burst plus anything else that would have done enough damage to finish the game. So Tessin's now 2-0 up.
Yeah,
with the Shaman.
He's drawn well with Shaman, and he's playing the hands very well as well.
This is what we said you yesterday. This is last hero standing, so be prepared for 3-0 Shaman games.
Yeah, that's what I said. I like to call this.
We potentially are going to see one here.
I like to call this format the last Shaman standing. It's
Well, you know, Stanudachi has still got another chance, right? He has his Rogue, and this is one of the interesting Rogue lists. It is going to be the Zoth Rogue, and this list is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing this list, but I just don't know how good it lines up versus, say, you know, just the more standard Miracle Rogue.
Yeah, it's hard to tell which one is better. A lot of people are in the camp that the Miracle is better. A lot of people are in the camp that N'Zoth is better. No one is in the camp that Rogue beats Shaman, though.
That's very, very true.
So this is going to be an uphill battle for Stan for sure.
Look at this opening again.
Yeah.
Tessin, like, into the Argent Horse Rider as well. So he's got all the options he could want here. The Argent
I feel
Squire
like we've
even going to be
this before.
Yeah, anytime I've met Shaman on the ladder, like, this is what happens to me.
Yeah.
But even the Argent Squire is going to be annoying as cards like Fan of Knives are going to be a little bit more awkward to deal with it.
Stanudachi, though, he's keeping up with it. He has a decent curve himself. Having the 2-2 on 2 to fight for the board control, be a little bit aggressive. Huckster, one of those cards, not in normal Rogue, but in N'Zoth Rogue, and is one of the better performing cards against Shaman, allowing him to fight for the board.
And even the Earthen Ring Farseer as well is going to put in some work. Heal for 3 and be, you know, other than Totem Golem, pretty much kills most of the, you know, the smaller Shaman minions.
Tessin going face here instead of trading into the Huckster. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, with it again, it's with his hand. He has Horse Rider, Doomhammer, so he just wants to end the game because he will know, obviously, it's N'Zoth Rogue. And if, for some reason, N'Zoth Rogue can be a bit more minion-heavy than, say, normal Miracle, you can build up the board and just keep trading, and then you just rely on just drawing enough spells to finish the game. So I think it's Tessin's playing very similar to the previous game where he's just waiting to the, you know, he knows he's out because he's got a few cards, but he knows how to make them work and end the game quickly. And I think he's just all in on that plan because of the Doomhammer again.
Yeah, the Doomhammer makes a lot of sense. One of the things that is usually scary about Rogue when you leave their minions up is they can cold blood them and go face, but not N'Zoth Rogue. And we can see here Tessin just completely disrespecting the Rogue's minions, just going face every turn, knowing you don't have any taunts, you have very limited heal, and you have no burst potential to be able to race me. I'm just going to Doomhammer you to death over 4 or 5 turns because that's just 16 damage in his hand already, and that in conjunction with the Argent Horse Rider, he's got 20 damage in hand right now.
Yeah. And also, I've seen one Farseer. Obviously, probably frustrating for Tessin because it's like, okay, there's 3 more damage I need to do. He knows there's one gone. There's only 4 cards in the Rogue hand. The odds on the second one coming up anytime soon are pretty low.
Yeah. So as Tessin here, do you think he just goes with the Doomhammer and starts clocking him in the face now, or do you want to see maybe Totem, Flame Tongue Totem, things from below, some sort of more defensive play?
Yeah, it's a tough one because nothing quite goes together, together too well.
Yeah, it's
a real tough
it's
one.
awkward. If he wants to
Because
continue,
the problem with just playing thing from below and say Flame Tongue is that like Rogues specializes in deal with like just a minion here, and we saw Shadow Strike earlier. We can see an Abyss in hand, and it's like just playing singular minion normally isn't too great. So I think I do like the Doomhammer this turn, and then try and work on getting the thing from below a little bit cheaper in the following turns. I think it's strongest when you add it as just an additional. Oh, by the way, here's like a 0 mana 5/5 as well as the rest of my turn.
Sure. Tessin is sticking to his original game plan that he's been committing to this whole game, which is just go face with everything because the Rogue can't race you. Little does he know, the Huckster has given Stanudachi a Lava Burst, so there is a lot of burst potential in this Rogue, kind of, with 2 Eviscerates and a Lava Burst available. So if he continues on this line of just Doomhammer face every turn, keep spacing out things, waiting on my Argent Horse Rider, Flame Tongue, getting in all 20 damage from my Doomhammer, 4 damage from the Argent Horse Rider, and what have you, picking up just 1 more burn spell to finish off the game that way, he could actually get raced down because of the added damage off the Huckster.
Yeah, and even that backstab is going to help just deal with the thing from below a little bit easier.
Oh, he goes with the beast. He goes for the big pressure play, the Beast Prep Lava Burst. I love it.
What a strange turn.
Yeah.
So I played against this Rogue the other day, and he basically played the Beast Prep into Lava Burst, and then you
It is definitely a power play.
Yeah, and this is the fun of this deck, actually. I was speaking to Sottle earlier about this deck, and it's like the best thing about it is no 2 games are the same because of the weird things that can happen with N'Zoth Rogue.
1 damage off of lethal for Tessin here with the Rockbiter pickup. So I imagine we're going to see Feral Spirits come out here.
And Feral Spirit almost just negates the Beast to a large extent as well. We can see that it will potentially get an attack in anyway, but because he has to go through the 2 taunts, that might just buy him. By Tessin just enough time to get the Horse Rider.
He's going to get the Flame Tongue Totem down too, it looks like. Hold on to the Rockbiter. He's setting up lethal for the following turn. He doesn't necessarily need the Flame Tongue Totem to go along with the Argent Horse Rider because he has enough damage regardless with his just Rockbiter weapon Argent Horse Rider.
That's going to be Tomb Pillager of this, and that is also not going to be enough.
Yeah, and it is well played by Tessin in the matchup, just understanding the fact that I'm going to get Doomhammer down on 5. I don't care about the board. Doomhammer is going to hit you in the face every turn for the rest of this game. And that 8 charges of Doomhammer at 2 damage a charge, that's 16 damage, and you don't have the damage in your deck or the ability to race me to compete with that. You don't have weapon removal, you don't have the damage in your deck. I will get every charge in, and it's just too much damage for Rogue to handle with their limited amount of heal. That's why N'Zoth Rogue can sometimes falter against Shaman. They just can't pressure them. They just can't.
Yeah, exactly.
They're too slow.
We saw that earlier in the fact that because Tessin had the Doomhammer, as you said, blatantly just ignoring all the minions, that he could have actually had decent trades. He could have had decent trades into it. It's like, no, because the Rogue will trade into me because they can't not. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, that's going to be, I'm pretty sure that's the 3-0.
That's the 3-0, the Shaman 3-0. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing people criticize the most about last year's standing is they're like, people are going to get 3-0'd by Shaman, people are going to get 3-0'd. So we haven't seen it happen all tournament. First game of cut to top 16, we get the Shaman 3-0, but Stanudachi did have the option to ban Shaman if he wanted to.
Yeah, exactly, and it's something that's been talked about quite a lot across all the players. I've been talking about in the last day or so about the bans, and we've seen so many people. And I was talking to you, Saul, welcome back to the desk.
Hey.
Talking to you about, like, people just aren't banning it.
Right.
Like, it seems weird
that
they're not doing it, but, you know, and we've seen actually a lot of punishment go on as even just Shaman taking a win or two that is so favored that you could have just banned it out and not had to worry about this issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like you said, it hasn't been punished too hard so far. It's the first time we've seen the crazy Shaman 3-0 sweep. It's just kind of brutal for Stanudachi that it comes in the most high-profile, high-pressure game of the tournament, single a limb, and suddenly the 3-0 Shaman sweep comes. But on the right side of that 3-0 Shaman sweep was Tessin. How's it going, man? You probably feeling pretty happy with yourself right now.
Yeah, for sure I do. I practice a lot the left-clicking phase. I tried with Honda as well, but I believe Shaman is the right pick.
Yeah, I mean, definitely efficient usage of damage goes face during that series. It was very well played. But I just heard from Nimsh before I came and sat back down here, You were 0-2 in Swiss.
I actually lost my 2 first games 0-3 against a face shaman.
Brilliant.
And then I was, okay, I need to figure something out. And then I won the 5 next games.
And then you
3-0.
started going
Yeah.
face, and then you were like, oh, okay, this is what I was doing wrong.
Yeah, I'm just here to learn. And okay, it's actually working out. So let's try it. And it's working out so far.
So who were those first 2 players that you lost to? Because to go from 0-2 to 7-2 and still qualify is kind of crazy. So who was it that had the tiebreakers that you lost to in the first 2 games? Do you remember?
Oh, I actually don't remember, but I know one of them went 1-3 after
Oh,
winning
wow.
against me. So
Okay.
it was really close.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, you know, from teetering on the edge, like, were you even considering dropping maybe after the 0-2? Or?
I was like, okay, but no, I was hoping for my teammates, but okay, let's just try. Like, I want to learn, I want to play, and
Right.
now it's actually working out.
Yeah,
It's working out pretty well, yeah.
I would say so, yeah. But, I mean, these guys were just talking about it, but particularly in that last Rogue game, I know we're kind of memeing about the whole go face thing, but against the Rogue in particular, you did just relentlessly go face. There was no consideration of trading into any of the minions. Is that a deliberate thing? Because, like, Firebat was talking about, you know there's no way he can, like, cold blood back into you with that N'Zoth deck, right? So you don't have to respect his minions.
That's the thing. Like, I know his deck list, so
Yeah.
I know there wasn't any kind of burst in the deck, so I thought, okay, he can heal. Like, that's a 3-3. Do I hit it 2 times with my Doom Hammer? But nah, let's just go face. Yeah.
And yeah, if you just counted the damage in his hand, did you like recount the damage? Doomhammer is like 16 damage when it was sitting in your hand, just knowing you had that much damage in your hand to hit him with?
Yeah, calculating all the time and writing down, like, I know his deck. That helped a lot. Like, if it was ladder, I would for sure trade. But
Okay.
So was there just the one Farseer in the list, or was there a second one?
there was a second
There
one.
was a
Yeah.
second
Okay.
one,
Yeah,
okay.
there's 2 standard. Fairly rare.
Actually, in N'Zoth, you'll be surprised. A lot
really?
of people do only run
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah, you
So
got
some of the lists I checked out always had
yeah,
2.
you got to make a lot of room for things. I mean, I'm not saying like it's 1.5 is about average. Let's
Okay.
put it that way. But yeah, there was 2 in that list, so that second Farseer could have changed the clock, right? So it was still kind of brave for you to be going all in, like especially when that beast came down and he
Well,
actually had a clock on
Yeah,
you.
if the beast didn't come down, I think his clock was fine.
Yeah,
the
right, I
beast
agree.
really accelerated the clock a little
Yeah.
bit.
For sure it did. Like, the different was the Spirit Wolf. Like, Spirit Wolf, and
Yeah.
then the Flame Tongue was like, okay, I have enough time. Like, I have taunts now. Let's just go for the face and take the time I need.
Yeah, well, very, very well played. You are the last shaman standing, as Firebat put it in our wonderful format. But I'm sure you want to go away, rest up, get prepared for your next game. So
For sure.
thank you for joining us, and we'll let you get on with it. So that was a very quick first game of our top 16 bracket. So we are going to take the quickest break that we possibly can, and we'll be back with our next game right after this short break. This is the Hearthstone DreamHack Grand Prix. Don't go anywhere, guys.